What's up, everyone? This is the Bangers and Brews show. I am Evan J. Thomas. With me is the host of Chord Progression Podcast, Kevin Hellstad. What is up, my man?
Hey, Evan, first off, thanks for having me on today. And second off, man, life is good right now. Podcasting, a lot of great music dropping, and also a lot of great beer, too, especially around where I am. So this is perfect, man.
Yeah, so where are you located? Obviously, you're not by me in Chicago, but you're close, not far.
I'm 90 miles north of you, man. I'm from the Brew City. I'm from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where the beer flows like, well, water, basically.
Beer flows like water. All right, so let's show what you are drinking today, what you're going to pour.
Perfect. So what I'm gonna pour today is a sour beer from a local brewery here called Ope Brewing Company. It's a sour beer, cranberry and cherry infused. And I'm like, you know what? I want to go with that because we're filming this right before Thanksgiving. Perfect for cranberries. You got cranberry sauce, cranberries. On top of that as well, I'm a little bit of a sour fan myself, and I didn't have to go far to get this beer. I literally walked to the brewery because it is half a mile away from my house.
Holy
Plus, the brewmaster and the guy who owns the brewery, Oak Brewery, is in a band called Lost Orange Cat. They're a funk and roll band. And the only reason I know about that is because my cousin's in the band. He is the mandolin player, backup vocalist. And during my cousin's bachelor party, the dude supplied all the beer. And I probably drank my weight in this during that bachelor party. So had to go back to it.
I got to go back to the fact that your cousin is a mandolin player in the band.
Yeah.
What kind of band is this?
They classify themselves as funk and roll. So if you like anything that's got some funk, folk music to it, but also has that roll of a classic rock and roll flavor to it, you're going to like this band, Lost Orange Cat.
All right, so you pour yours. Let's do that first.
Let me crack this open first.
I'll have you do yours.
So I got the clear pint glass too, so you can see it's nice and red for a sour beer.
So it's called Ope, not Opa?
Sorry,
Okay.
Gotta squeeze right past you there. As classic Wisconsin as possible. So there you go. It kind of looks like red juice, but nope, that is a sour beer right there, my friend.
Oh man. All right. So I grabbed this out of my fridge. I got Scarecrow's Lederhosen. It is the Oktoberfest lager from Riverlands Brewery out here in St. Charles, Illinois. This is one of my favorite Oktoberfest. And in spirit, I'm wearing my my Sasquatch shirt with the freaking Lederhosen in the beer, so might as well go with it. So let's pour as we go, and have to have my trusty machine shop.
Ooh.
I knew that would get you, man.
Oh, it's always gonna get me. I still have never been to the machine shop yet, mostly because I know it's in Flint, Michigan. It's kind of hard for me to go over there. I've actually only been to Michigan once. That was this year for Upheaval Fest, which headliners both nights. Night one was Bring Me the Horizon. Night two was Falling in Reverse, and it's a great time. But that was Grand Rapids, as Western and
Grand Rapids is a little closer than So Flint from me is about 4.5 hours. So from you, it's probably about 5.5, maybe 6. If you have a chance to go. It is one of the coolest fucking joints. It's in a seedy ass area, so it's even better. So it's really cool. But this place is sold out for like every show, every rock show that I've seen there. I've seen the band Blacktop Mojo there twice. Who else was there? Buck Cherry, Sumo Psycho was there one night. Kira, let's see, Lullwater, and otherwise. So those were the bands that I've seen there over 2 different times. So
I know, like a lot of the bands I know. Well, first off, cheers, my friend.
Cheers! Oh my god, this is good.
Ooh, it's sweet and sour, but it tastes like Thanksgiving, basically. Like the sweet part of Thanksgiving. This is exactly what it tastes like.
And I love a good kind of fruitish, sour, just infuse different types of beers. I'm not always your usual. Obviously, doing a show called Bangers and Brews, they can't have your Miller Lights and stuff like that. So I go with the funkier stuff too. So that looks amazing. I should have probably pulled out one of my ciders that I had, but you know what? I went with what I went with.
If I wouldn't have gone with this, I actually would have gone with cider, local microbrew cider from Minneapolis, Minnesota called Sociable Cider Works, because this is back when I was in college. I went up to the University of Minnesota, and in my junior year, I was 20 years old, and I had a class, and the assignment we had was interview a local entrepreneur that made at least $2 million or more a year.
Wow.
And my thought was, at this time, okay, I'm a junior in college, and my 2 summers, like between my sophomore and junior, my job was going around to all the local like grocery stores, pick and saves, Walmarts, Targets. I mean, anything that had like a big grocery chain to it. If they had beer there, I was going to put out the beer for the Miller distributorship here in Milwaukee. So I wanted to talk to every distributor or every like microbrew that could possibly get something for me. Only 2 replied, Summit Brewery in St. Paul, and that one just didn't work out with timing. But this guy from Sociable Cider Works in Northeast Minneapolis said, "Hey, yeah, I'll do this with you." So I met him at a coffee shop. It was only supposed to be like a half-hour thing. Him and I were shooting the shit for like 3 hours. I ended up getting an A on the paper.
That's the type of relationships you like to find. It's like, one of those where, you expect it to be like boom, 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 done. And then, like you said, 3 hours just talking to the dude. You were probably talking about everything.
We were talking about everything from cider to beer to life to college to just probably what the best Nick Cage movie of all time was. I'm pretty sure we debated that for like 10 minutes. But when I turned 21, like 2 days afterwards, the first thing I did after I got done with school for the week was jumped on my bike because I didn't have a car. So I biked to the brewery and I got my first taste of their actual cider. And I was like, oh my God, this is incredible because it's not super duper sweet like an Angry Orchard would be, but it wasn't like super duper bitter and dry like a Seattle dry cider would be. It was somewhere that was absolutely middle. It was like a press style cider, and it was crisp, smooth. But if you had like 2 of them, then you start to feel a little bit woozy because they actually packed a legitimate punch. And every time I go up there, I try and get some. I was up there for the Viking Saints game on November 12th, but me and my brother had to get back to Wisconsin, so we couldn't really stop, unfortunately, and I missed out on my chance. So darn.
So about a month ago, my girlfriend and I were up in Door County, and there was a couple cider places that we hit up there. She's not into ciders as much as I am. I absolutely love them, but we tried this one place. I think it was called the Cider House. Obviously, like I said, I think we're Door County, and that place had this one apple cider beer that was fucking incredible. And like you said, it wasn't the overly sweet, and she even liked it too. So I was like, you know what? That's fantastic. But they even warmed it up for you, so it wasn't even cold. So it was like, warm apple cider beer or cider, and I was like, this is fucking incredible. And they put it in like a regular mug, so it was even better. So wow, yeah. Glad that we got another cider person. Guess what? You're actually the first guest on this show. So I've done 3 shows before this where it was basically just me talking about the beers. And Kevin, you are the first official guest on the Bangers and Brews. So, congrats to you on that one.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I am incredibly honored, especially now the fact that you got bangers when it comes to music, but also brews, and the fact that I like beer, I drink a lot of beer, and I'm from a place that is known for beer. It's like the perfect combination right there, man.
Exactly. And I would like to try to get more bands on this, but a lot of them aren't really drinking beer as much anymore. So I've got to find the right niche for this show. So let's move over to some of the music stuff. Your podcast, Chord Progression Podcast. You've had it on my radio station, the Badass Radio Network, for a few months now. So what started your interest in doing a podcast? You interview bands, but what got you into doing it?
Really what got me into it was in the craziest sense, and I've spoke about this a number of times, but I always like talking about it because it breaks stigma around, people going through certain problems with mental health. But the reason why I really started it was a way to break out of manic depression, because this is like back 2017. I just graduated college at the beginning of the year, like world on my shoulders, everything's out in front of me. This is great. 6 months later, I was working a corporate job and I realized I absolutely hated this and it was draining the life out of me. And the girl I was dating at the time, we broke up, and that was just like the straw that broke the camel's back. And yeah, when you say everything went downhill, everything went downhill. Mm-hmm. Depression set in, thoughts of just trying to figure out how to get through life, and if what I was going to do was anything, greater than what I was doing, because I was just going to work like 8 to 4 and then going to the gym afterwards and going home and watching Netflix and just repeat. There were a couple of, times where things got really, really dark, which we won't go into, but I was trying to find a way to break out of that and find something where, hey, when I was in college, why did I like doing the work there? Because it was something that was for me, not for some other person, for some company. So I had to figure out something. And the only thing that was continually get me through that time in life was music. At that time, I was listening to a lot of like older 30 Seconds to Mars, listening to a good amount of Skillet. but primarily it was listening to a lot of Rise Against, which has been my favorite band since I was 14. So trying to figure out what I wanted to do with that, I was trying to build an online community on social media to try and get more rock and metal fans together. And I was trying all these other different things to add to it, like YouTube, album reviews. But then I decided, you know what, let's try a podcast at some point, see what happens. Let's go for it. I did a bunch of episodes on my own and it was fun, but something just wasn't clicking. And then I started trying to interview bands, and I had some people throw me some really, really small bands at the time.
Oh, sure.
I'm talking like super duper small, but that's how you got to start. So I just ran with it and went with it. And the sweatshirt I'm on now is band Kingdom Collapse, which I'm pretty sure.
Hell yeah, dude! I saw them up actually in Wisconsin a year and a half ago, over at what was that place? 1175.
I was probably at that show too.
Because it was Kingdom, it was a stacked ass show.
Was that the From Ashes to New show?
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, I was at that one.
From Ashes to New, I think it was Fire from the Gods.
Yep.
Oh my god, that place was fucking slammed.
From Ashes to New, Fire from the Gods, Blind Channel, Kingdom Collapse, and Above Snakes.
Bingo. And I got the photograph, and unfortunately I had a photograph from the back of the venue because the damn photographer guy wouldn't let me up there, even though I had a pass. Apparently it wasn't good enough to get up to the front area. So, but whatever. You were there. I was there. That's fantastic. You have the hoodie to show for it. I just, that place is really cool. And that sound is fantastic too. So I got to ask you then, did you see the band Saul there when they were there about a year and a half ago?
I saw Saul there about 2 years ago when they played like half of their set and someone had a water bottle on top of the speaker system and they left it there. It was one of the crew members for the venue and it fell over on their laptop and completely fried it. So halfway through their set, they had to stop.
Oh, okay. I wasn't at that show. At least I don't think I was. Maybe I left early. Who knows? It's possible. But so you've been there, you've seen all these bands, you got this podcast started. So how did you learn to do podcasting? Obviously, you got a pretty sweet little setup there now. Before the show, you said you had it for about 3.5 years. How did you actually get rolling with everything, and how did you figure it out?
The simple way to put it is trial and error. It was, okay, I'm listening to other podcasts. I'm listening to what they're doing, especially the ones that are interviewing bands when I started going about it. And my biggest thing was, what are they doing that I don't like? Or what aren't they doing that I wish they would? And no one was really going into it in more of this free form style. Everything seemed very rigid, or it seemed very, section based, where everything was going to be this segment, then this segment, then this segment. And the questions were always the same. So I said, I kind of want to do something.
That I'm going to stop you. That to me is the worst fucking thing. When you're on watching or listening to a podcast and basically every question is exactly the same with every band. Keep going. I'm sorry.
So I decided, I'm like, you know what kind of conversation would I want to listen to? I want to listen to the conversation where we're just going to have a normal conversation back and forth where, just like this, you never know what's going to come up. We can talk about the most random stuff. Random stories can come up. And if a band is going to be absolutely ridiculous and try and take me off the rails, which has happened before, I just lean into it and see what the hell happens. And those are some of the funniest episodes I ever come up with and some of my favorite memories because you never know what to expect. So I decided, let's try this out. Let's just go with the flow with how I want to do a conversation and put it out there and see what happens. And every time I have a band on, a lot of the time, especially early on, and with the younger bands, they loved it because it was just them talking as them. They got to present themselves as them, not as this exact band, or we have to answer these questions the same way. It was fun. It was different. So then I just kept doing it. And as the band started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, I started to hear some crazier and crazier stories just because it's natural. It flows. If we're going to end up talking about, some crazy story about how, I'm trying to think of a crazy one that's off the top of my head, because there's a bunch of them, but nothing's coming to me right now. But just some wacky stories or some wacky revelations that a band had. It just comes naturally, but it feels like it's supposed to be that way. I'm not trying to pry anything out of a band. I'm just trying to get you to open up and see what happens. And if I have to open up too, so be it. Let's have some fun.
So what I end up doing, like I put a little outline. Maybe I'll do 3 or 4 questions like I have right over off to the side right now. But if I even get to those, that's cool. But if not, like I said, I love the conversation style. So I learned by some of my favorite interviewers, Howard Stern, David Letterman, Joe Rogan. Like those guys just fucking go with it. So is there anybody that you kind of looked at? I mean, obviously you said there were some that you were like, I'm not going to do it their way because it's too boring. What did you see anybody that you really liked that you kind of not copied, but kind of went their style?
Joe Rogan's probably the best example you brought up that would fit that, because when I was listening to podcasts during that full-time job I had right out of college, just trying to get by anywhere, I would listen to Joe Rogan's episodes, and a big reason behind it was because, yeah, they were long, but they were always going to be interesting. There was always something different that was going to come about it. You never knew what was going to come from it. And the flow of the conversation went from one spot to the next. The other person I was listening to, even though he was doing them primarily by himself, which he still does, is comedian Bill Burr, who I find absolutely hysterical. But it's just the way that he was able to rip just on anything and just go for it and just naturally have this flow to it and never seemed like he had a plan, but whatever he just came out of his mouth was what was going to come. Then when his wife Nia would come on, the back and forth that they would have, that was really intriguing. It was no set moment. It was just like you were in there listening to their conversation. It felt like you were a part of it. It didn't feel like it was so scripted to the point where you're just getting information. It felt like not only you were getting information that you wanted, but you were being entertained at the same time too. And that's the way I always wanted to go about it, because that's the way I enjoy it.
Yeah, just the great conversation style, and pretty cool thing too. My son and I do a podcast. We haven't done one in a few months because he's working and whatnot. But we do a movie review podcast. We have nothing that is scripted except the intro and just the two different segments on what we're going to basically talk about. But everything we talk about is basically unscripted, and that is where the fun stuff comes out. So I totally get it. So do you have a favorite guest that you've had on the show? Like anybody? I know you said you were having a little mental break, or not breakdown, but a little mental fart there on trying to figure somebody out who it was. But do you have any favorite guests that you've had recently?
Favorite guest I've had recently? I mean, recently I always enjoy every guest I have on. But whenever I think about my favorite guests of all time, I'm gonna go all time on this one, because I always think about this. I always have like a top 5 of who are the ones I enjoy having the most. And one of them is, I'm wearing their sweatshirt right now, of course, Kingdom Collapse. Again, they were my second guest ever. They were my first video episode. And every time I get to speak with their lead singer, Jonathan Norris, we just have this great back and forth tandem that I always look forward to every single year. Another person that I always love having on is Joey Arena from the band Outlier. The first time we were recording, we only got 15 minutes in because the internet connection kept cutting out on us. So everything was very laggy, but the conversation was so good, I didn't want to stop it. And him and I just get super duper deep on these ridiculous amount of topics. And it's something where I don't ever think that, people are going to have a chance to just let loose like that, or just to get to, express themselves like that and have someone listen. From my standpoint, from his standpoint, it's just an incredible, like, mental bond building thing. Another group I love having on, and a guy I love having on, Matt Flood from the band Caskets. UK band, post-hardcore band. Him and I, again, back and forth conversation, always great.
I gotta get some of these, man, because I haven't gotten those dudes yet.
Similar with Joey Varela from Varsity. He's always one where it's just...
Joey's awesome.
Dive deep into music, dive deep into theory with him. It's fantastic. But the wildest guest, the wildest guest I've ever had on, is Benny Scholl from the band Avoid. He is just like manic energy, crazy dude, but is one of the funniest guys I've ever met in my entire life. The first time we did a podcast episode, I just didn't know what to expect. He was having a blast with it. We were laughing hysterically. And then the second time I did it with them, right before their debut album came out in 2022, we had so much talk about. We went through like 8 different things, and I think I held a straight face with that episode for only like 5 minutes out of the 45, 50 minutes that we went. Every story he told was ridiculous, from him singing the national anthem during a NASCAR Truck Series race and completely botching it, while the record label they were signed to was there to see them for the first time and meet them in person.
Oh, wow.
How Jim Rome picked this up on his podcast, was just like bad mouthing the band. Then he listened to their music and liked it, and then Benny called into the show.
Holy shit. That Jim Rome. Okay, so that Jim Rome, the kind of, I totally get it, because I listen to a lot of sports talk radio, so I hear it a lot.
So it's like all this stuff, their affiliation with the Buc-ee's gas stations, like how the tour pranks they've pulled just for the hell of it. It's this guy's energy has been so crazy and so mad where it's like, if I can get this guy on the podcast, if I can go see a Void play live, I will do it no matter what. And what's even funnier is they just announced a tour recently. It's with Fit for a King and Devil Wears Prada, and they have a show in Milwaukee. And I'm like, okay, I'm not missing this. I'm not gonna miss out on this. Then Issues announced that they're gonna do their farewell shows, and their one in Chicago is the same day that a Void is playing in Milwaukee. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I go see a Void in Milwaukee with Fit for a King, Devil's Pride, or do I go see Issues for the only time I ever can get to see him in Chicago? I don't miss out on when Benny and the boys play because it is the most fun I have at a show. So I'm staying here in Milwaukee for that one. No doubt about it.
See, that's cool that you have one of those bands that anytime they come through, you want to see them. I have that same thing. There's a band out there. I don't know if you've heard of Blacktop Mojo. You probably have. I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys, I've been interviewing them since they first kind of jumped on the scene, and I think it was 2017, so almost 7 years. I've interviewed them over a half dozen times, and every time we do something different, and it is a lot of fun. We've had interviews where we did a picnic out in the freaking field before. We did a walk around the tour of their bus, drinking whiskey. Inside some of the venues. It's just been pretty cool doing that, but that's awesome that you're able to do that. I was going to ask you then too. So since you've done a bunch of these bands and you've been doing this for a while, how long have you actually been doing the podcast now?
So my first episode ever came out by myself. It was late February 2019. As we're recording this in November 2023, I'm closing in on 5 years, man.
How many episodes have you had?
Well,
you're banging them out, dude.
I know it's usually 2 a week. There's very rare times now where they come with 3 a week. That's a very rare occasion. Now I used to do that whenever I would just get them, but that was a lot during the pandemic. If I look right now at the time of recording this, I will have released how many am I at right now? At the time of recording this, I've released 462 episodes, and I have recorded 4 more already that are set and ready to go.
Where do you find the time? I mean, do you have a regular job? I mean, what else do you do?
I do have a regular job. I manage data systems for a health insurance software company.
God damn, because I'm working 2 jobs. I got the radio station I'm doing. I'm, doing beer fests and shit like that. So I'm all over the place too. Man, just trying to find time to do shows. Obviously, I have shows that I do on my radio station as well, but man, it is hard to keep up. You got to be dedicated to keep that podcast going weekly, especially twice a week too. So, congrats to you on that, bro.
Well, thank you. I know it ain't easy, and it hasn't always been easy. During the pandemic, it was a lot easier to run with this because, of course, not much going on outside, social events, concerts, that wasn't happening. So I had all the time to really work on this. But now I will still go to work, pretty much, 7 to 3 every single Monday through Friday. And after sitting down for 8 hours a day, I can't sit still. I got to go to the gym. I got to work out. And I'm always in there between like 2.5 to 3 hours just because that's what I like to do. But then also try and fit concerts in there, fit the podcast in there, not just, recording it, but also editing the audio, editing everything around there, loading it, doing all the descriptions and everything, trying to reach out to the guests, trying to reach out to these PR firms. Once I get them, do they have an album out or do they just have a single coming out? If they have a single coming out, I will go through that single religiously to make sure I know everything there is to know about it. If it's an album, I will review the full album, and that takes a damn long time, but it's something that I absolutely love to do. And it does come at a cost too, where I sleep maybe at the most 6 hours a night because of this. And because I also like going to concerts too. I have to fit all this stuff in there. And when it comes to doing stuff with friends socially, it's harder to find that time. I'm not gonna lie. It has been a sacrifice I've had to make where there's times where I just don't go out and do as much stuff or go out and try and do as much stuff with my friends because I've got an episode I got to record. I got a band I'm trying to go and get. I got to go do this. I got to go do that. It is a cost, but at the same time, I look back at it and I'm like, if I wasn't doing this, if I wasn't doing the podcast, would I be happy? I could be doing some more stuff with my friends. Absolutely. But there would be a lot of those days, a lot of those nights where I'd be sitting on my couch watching TV, wishing I was still doing this.
Exactly. So you got to find that niche that just lets you be you do something you love to do, and that's interviewing bands, and then putting out like amazing content. Because I listen to basically every one of your shows. I mean, it is tough trying to find twice a week to listen, especially when it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon on my show, on my station. But dude, you put out some quality interviews, and I absolutely love your style, and that's why I'm like, I had to get Kevin on for one of my first my actual first guest on the show. So dude, fucking kudos to you on knocking them out like you do. So I
You're
gotta
making
ask
my day.
you, do you have a guest that is on your bucket list? Obviously, this is a question I have off to the side. This isn't just going with it, but give me a bucket list or a couple of them that you have there.
Okay, how many do you want? How about that?
Just give me a handful. I don't care, 5, 10. I got a bunch of them too. So
Okay, so I'll give. How about this? I'll run through some bucket list ones, but I'll give you the ultimate guest I've always wanted on the podcast
go.
at the end of it. Sound good? So ultimate guest I've always wanted on. Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine
Oh
Kills.
my God, yes.
Any of the guys from We Came as Romans, either Dave Stevens or Andy. Because I've actually have a chance to see them at their plenty of shows. Got to do VIP with them, play cornhole with them. I'm like, I gotta have these guys on. Plus, I love We Came as Romans. Chris Motionless from Motionless in White, I would love to
Yes.
have on.
Agreed.
As crazy as it is, I know some people might not like this, but I'd totally be down for Ronnie Radke. I would love to have Ronnie Radke on.
Dude, he would be one awesome fucking interview because he'd probably get mad at you about 10 minutes in and probably storm off or not want to talk to you.
I would still have fun with it.
Exactly.
Going some more of the ones that are like a little bit more on the older, like younger me that used to listen to. David Draymond from Disturbed.
Bingo.
Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Bingo.
And it used to be one of mine, but not really much. But I still would probably have him on to talk about some of the older music. Jared Leto from 30 Seconds to Mars.
Bingo. I would nail that one down too.
Ali Sykes, Bring Me the Horizon.
Oh my God,
sure.
yes.
But the one guest that is my absolute bucket list guest, where I am making sure that before I quit the podcast, I have this person on, Tim McElrath, the lead singer for Rise Against.
Rise Against. Exactly. I knew you were going to go that route, man.
Oh,
wait, you have not gotten Tim yet?
I've not gotten Tim yet, no.
Dude, all right. I know people that probably could get him. So let me see what I can do for you, bro.
Don't mess with me right now, Evan.
I'm not messing with you. I know people at Q101 in Chicago that can probably get them for you. So I will do my damnedest to try to get that. I mean, I'm going to get them for myself too, but I'm going to get them for you first because it's more important. So if I get you that, you don't owe me shit. Just thank me for it. That's it. That's all I ask for.
Dude, you can't see right now, but my legs are jumping up and down right now over this table like crazy, trying not to hit this table and knock everything out of this. But if that happens,
I've been lucky. Yeah, dude, you'd be like me if I interviewed Dave Grohl. I'd be like, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd probably cry. I don't know what the fuck I would do. It's one of those where like his music just hit me since I was in my early 20s. I'm a little older than that now, but yeah. So I've actually been able to photograph Rise Against a few times as well. I don't know if you've been able to see them or do whatever, but yeah.
Oh dear God,
I photographed them at Lollapalooza. I think it was like 2011. I forgot where else I got them too, but it was Carolina Rebellion Festival in 2015.
Oh wow! Yeah, 'cause I think I've seen them. I've seen the most of any band. It's either 14 or 15 times so far.
Damn.
When they did the residency at the Metro, that 3-day residency, yep. I was at night 2 and night 3, and I was kind of thankful I went to night 2. And I would have loved to go to all 3 days. Don't get me wrong, but that'd be me having to travel down to Chicago and then back to Milwaukee 3 straight days. Exactly. That's a little bit much, especially when one of the days is a Thursday. But it was cool because both the second and third night they played so obscure songs that I wanted to hear always wanted to hear, like Rumors of My Demise have been greatly exaggerated. I wanted to hear Miracle so damn bad again, and they finally played it. And of course, every night they ended with playing Savior. And when I hear that song and I've seen them in concert, something clicks in my brain where it's just, whatever happens, everyone in the mosh pit, you are now mine. Like, you're not messing with me. Like, I'm taking every one of you out in the most fun way possible because something just happens, man.
Well, especially if you've just been to the gym for 2.5, 3 hours. I ain't jumping in there with you. I mean, I probably could handle you pretty well, but others can't.
So, we'd still have some fun, man. Don't worry about it.
Fuck yeah. So dude, that is a killer fucking list. I mean, Spencer, Chris Motionless, Tim, those guys right there. I mean, those three dudes right there are easily my top 10. I'll throw you a few more. You said Dave Grohl. He's my number one for sure. I have Limp Bizkit,
Fred Durst.
fucking Fred Durst, Jonathan Davis from Korn, David Draymond, Paul McCartney. I know it'll never happen, but fuck, if I could ever interview Paul McCartney. I watch him on every interview with Howard Stern, and it's just incredible, dude.
Hey, don't say never, Evan. I mean, I'm still going at this, and I'm still waiting for that Tim McElroy.
I'm looking at how old he is and how much time he might have left on this earth. That's what I'm looking at more than me.
Okay.
So it's kind of like one of those things. Hey, the time's ticking down. You got to jump on that and get it. So, but I'm not with Rolling Stone or anything like that, so I ain't gonna be getting that interview.
I mean, maybe you never know. Maybe in like 1 or 2 years, Badass Radio just turns into the most badass thing ever. And then Howard Stern's trying to get on your platform, and next thing you know, you're the one interviewing Paul McCartney and not Howard.
Dude, that would be fucking awesome. And cheers to that.
Cheers to that, buddy.
So, where am I going to go with this? Since you live in Milwaukee, you said you wanted to go to, obviously, the machine shop here. Is there any music venues? You're over by the Rave, which I absolutely love going to. Do you have any music venues that you absolutely love going to?
Okay, yeah. I always love going to the Rave. I literally live maybe 3 miles away from the venue.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So I am there all the time when it comes to going to Milwaukee for venues. I'm trying to think of a couple other ones I love going to, including here in Milwaukee as well, in a little small like suburb called Cudahy. There's X-Ray Arcade. I was just there a couple of nights ago. It's about, you can fit maybe 200, 250 people in there. Seen another Chicago band headline there called Belmont, and you cannot stand still when you go see those guys play. It was just manic in there, and I love every minute of it. So those are usually my two favorite for Milwaukee. In Madison, Wisconsin, I love the Sylvie.
I've yet to be there. I need to get there.
They have it set up so nice where it's like if you're on the floor, they have it kind of dug in for a pit where it's like, okay, everyone can stand there. You want to go to the bar, you need to go to the bathroom. You go up to the ledge that's a little bit like a couple of steps up. So even if you're up there, you don't want to be in the pit, you can still see over everybody. It's really nice. Plus, I don't care whatever you call it, drinking fountain, water fountain, or bubbler, they have them there. And it's just easy to find. So, is it nice? I also really like, let's see, Epic Event Center in Green Bay.
Been there once. Is that the one? No, am I thinking the one? Is that the one in the old schoolhouse?
No, they think they just built this one. It's
Okay.
It's kind of in the Titletown district right by Lambeau.
Okay, yeah, I haven't been to that one.
So I really like that one too. In your neck of the woods for Chicago, though, oh boy, I still always love going to the Aragon because I love seeing the architecture. It reminds me of the Rave, just a lot crazier at the same time. When it comes to some of the other venues I like there, Concord Music Hall, big fan.
Concord has some great sound, man.
Yeah, I've been there this year to see, I saw August Burns Red at the Concord. I saw Polaris there. I saw Wage War there. When From Ashes to New is going to be there in December, I'm going to go down for that one as well. So
and hopefully you and I hook up at that show because, man, From Ashes to New is one of my favorite interviews too. Those guys are just amazing every time I sit with them. So
have you got to interview all the guys yet, or how many of them so far?
have. The only guy I haven't interviewed is the drummer. So I've gotten everybody else at some point, either solo or, two, but never the whole band. I do have a picture with the entire band after the interview because they were doing interviews. It was like Lance and Danny were with me, and then Matt and Matt were over there. And then there was another one where I did one with Danny and Matt the singer, and then Matt alone. So it was like, it kind of was like all over the place.
Yeah, because I've had them twice. First time I had him on, it was Lance, and the second time I ever had him on was Matt the drummer. So I've never had Danny. I've never had
Matt. Danny is fun, and so is fucking Matt. Matt's a little more right at you. So obviously you see his Facebook posts, you kind of know what type of person he is. That's how he is in real life, just talking to him, because he's very intellectual and he will throw it at you. So, be ready. Be ready when you interview.
I'll be ready for that.
Because he'll bring you some deep shit, dude.
Say a couple other venues I do want to shout out to that I enjoy. Going back to Chicago, Bottom Lounge.
Bottom Lounge is amazing as well. I got to see, last show there was Papa Roach.
Oh no way, you were at that one.
I was at the $20 Papa Roach show.
Oh, I'm jealous of that one because I was there for Polaris, like Moss of Flames, Alpha Wolf, and Invent Animate in 2022.
Damn.
I was also there for From Ashes to New and Memphis May Fire.
Oh,
I'm trying to think, was I there this
I
year at
was
all? I
I
don't really
wasn't there
remember,
for that one.
but I know I'm going next year for sure when Holding Absence is headlining there in February.
There you go.
Otherwise, okay, so this was at Upheaval Music Festival 2023, Grand Rapids, Michigan. After the second night, it was like the main acts I saw today was We Came as Romans, Ice Nine Kills, Falling in Reverse. So I'm loving this right now. I got tickets to the after show, which was at a venue called The Intersection, which reminds me a lot
I've
of,
heard of it.
it's kind of the setup wise. If you look at the stage, it's a lot like the Concord without the balcony. So
Okay.
I went there and I walk in. It takes me like 2.5 miles to walk there. I walk in. I'm like, okay, did I get here in time? Did I not? Right as I start walking towards the pit, the light goes down and Wage War is playing. And I've been moshing for like 12 hours at this point, and it was just absolutely insanity. Just people were still going at it, having a blast. And oh man, that was a great venue. Otherwise, I'll give one more shout out, which is going back to where I went to college up in Minneapolis. I've only ever been there once, but it was just insane to see the Armory. Just
I've
big
heard of that one
old.
too. Yeah, I mean, there's so many places around the country that I want to hit. I've been lucky. I toured with a band for 2 weeks once where they played Whiskey a Go Go. So I got
Ooh,
to be there for a show. They played a few other smaller places on the way and around. That was the biggest one that they played. My girlfriend and I went to was about a year and a half ago. Went to the Agora Theater in Cleveland. If you've ever been there, it's kind of like it's a smaller version of the Aragon and not as kind of retro. But we saw Ministry there, and they fucking blew the house down. Unbelievable.
all
So
right,
yeah.
let me ask you this question because I want to see what your answers are compared to mine. What venues have you always wanted to go to that you haven't yet?
Um, there's one in New Orleans that I actually tried to go to, and it's not really a rock music one. Oh fuck. The Preservation Hall.
Ooh, okay.
Preservation Hall in New Orleans is one of them. CBGB's, but that place I think is closed. There's the Palladia in is that San Francisco?
The
But
play I was thinking the one I would go with was the Palladium in Worcester, Massachusetts.
okay, that one too, because I got a friend that goes to that one all the time as well. So yeah, but that's about it. I mean, I hit two of my bucket list ones, which was Machine Shop and Whiskey a Go Go. And anytime I can get to the Machine Shop, I fucking will. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah,
The
for me,
sound, it's small. It's like a 700 people venue, and it is that small. And like I said, it is packed. The energy in there is incredible. So holy shit, dude, it's amazing. So get out there sometime.
I was gonna say the Machine Shop is one of mine, along with the Palladium in Worcester. But the other one was it's kind of a mix between St. Andrew's Hall and the Masonic Temple in Detroit.
Yep, I've heard of all of those as well. So I got to get there as well. All right, I got one last question for you.
Perfect.
So you've been on one other podcast as a guest before. You're usually obviously the one asking the questions. What is it like to be in front of the camera rather than be the interviewer? I mean, I've done both, so I want to ask you how you feel about it.
Well, because I did one, I was just literally on one, and now I'm on yours, and then I'm doing another one. I want to say I'm doing another one in 2 days, and I
Nice.
literally had to prepare for it today because it's all about metalcore and nerd culture. I had to go see the new Marvel movie today to make sure I was prepared for it.
Oh, geez, nice.
So it's different, definitely, because I'm so used to be the one driving the conversation instead of just being the one that's having to just go with the flow. Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
My end, being a guest, it's less pressure just because whatever happens, happens. I can just flow with it. I can just go with it. I'm going on your direction and I'm just going to run with it. When I'm
Okay.
the host, though, I'm just flowing. I just got to go with it wherever I want to go with it, but I got to be the one in the driver's seat. However, it's much more natural when I get to have conversations like this where we just go back and forth. I know sometimes you'll have questions you want to ask, so I'm always going to be ready to answer them. But the one thing I always remember is what would I want as an interviewer if I was answering these questions? And it's never one word answers or one sentence answers. I want to give you something to chew on. I want to give you something to think about. And from your perspective as the interviewer, I want to give you something to respond to and be able to build off of so we can continue to have that conversation. It's a little bit of a different mental game, but very similar to what I'm used to. So it's just continue to go with the flow, have a conversation like if we were literally sitting in that exact same room as you are right now, doing this exact same thing, still drinking our beers. And do I have any left in this?
Yeah, I was gonna say, finish it off, man. I'm almost done.
Well, there's that.
Oh yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, dude. Awesome having you on. It's been a fucking blast. And I'm like you. It's just I just want to entertain people and kind of give them my story. Obviously, if people look me up and whatnot, it's just have fun with it. Don't be so stiff. Just enjoy yourself. Be you. Maybe go above and beyond. I kind of play with it. I do a sports podcast as well, college football, and I'm interviewed every week, and sometimes I'll put on different costumes and shit like that. So I'll play around with them and fuck around because you know what? That's what that's what I like. So why not?
I'll say, seeing from some of the posts that you've made about it, I'm assuming you've dressed up as a leprechaun one time with your gigantic fandom of Notre Dame.
Yes, I have. So
I knew it.
So I did that one. I dressed for Halloween. I did my oh fuck, I forgot what I even was for Halloween anymore. It was a witch doctor. So there you go. I was that. So I was dressed for that for the show one time. So yeah, just to have a lot of fun. So where can we find your podcast? Obviously, besides you can listen to it on the Badass Radio Network on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 5 p.m. Central Time. That is Badass Radio Network on the Live 365 app. You can listen to it on Roku and the Amazon Alexa device. Anywhere else we can find you. Boom.
Well, what Evan literally just said, every Tuesday and Thursday at 5 p.m. Central, Badass Radio Network, everywhere he just said, you can go check it out. But if you want to check out all our other episodes and everything else we got going on, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Amazon. Just search a Chord Progression Podcast and you'll find it there. But you can also look us up on YouTube as well, Chord Progression Podcast. The full interviews are there as well in video form, so you can watch us talk to these artists and see the crazy kind of stuff that happens, like the time when I interviewed Garrett Russell from Silent Planet while he was driving his friend home from the airport. Plus, on our YouTube channel every single Friday, I do a reaction video to something absolutely crazy, wacky, and manic. Usually go with Japanese metal because, let's be honest, Japanese metal is absolutely wacky. So
God,
feel free to go there. Any place to get your podcast, but Spotify, a podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon, YouTube, search up Chord Progression Podcast. Oh yeah, you're gonna find us.
Man, you're good. You almost have it like almost I do.
I'll say almost. There's probably a couple other places I could put this bad boy on. Right now, I'm like,
your 462 or whatever shows you've done, you're a little bit farther than me overall. So dude, Kevin, it's been awesome having you on. And again, let's promote the beer that you had. So do that again, the beer in the brewery.
Promote the beer, Ope Brewery from Dirty Dallas, West Dallas, Wisconsin. Check them out. They are probably the fastest growing microbrewery in Wisconsin right now. Plus, also check out Lost Orange Cat. The drummer of Lost Orange Cat is the brewmaster and owner of Ope Brewery in Wisconsin. Oh yeah.
That was yours, and I have the Scarecrows in Lederhosen, the Oktoberfest lager from Riverlands in St. Charles, Illinois. If you ever have a chance to get out there, or if you're ever in my area, Kev, man, hit me up. We will go out for a drink somewhere. There are some killer-ass breweries, probably not as good as over by you, but still damn good.
Hey, man, come up here. Come up to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I will. I go up there once in a while for baseball games, so might as well get out there and just have some fun, meet you. Even shows, man. I mean, you and I have obviously been to some of the same ones.
Well, how about this? If I don't come down to see you within the next couple of weeks, or if you don't come up to see me in the next couple of weeks, we do a brewery thing. If you're going to that for Ashley New show at the Concord, I'll see you there, my friend.
Yo, awesome. And you can check out this show, Bangers and Brews. We are on YouTube. You can find us on the Badass Productions YouTube channel. And then obviously Kevin, you can find his show everywhere. So again, thank you, Kevin. Chord Progression Podcast. You can hear him everywhere, literally fucking everywhere.
Thank you, Evan. And also, I'll be back.
Rock on, man.